Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It is that time. It is 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. even on the East Coast. And this is Victor Johnson. I'm representing here for Create Your Future Self Live. Oh, boy, it's about to be a great show. My co-host, Laquita Monley, she's probably going to jump in a little bit later here in a second. She got a young son over in her life that's doing some football stuff. So we want to make sure we give her some time to get him situated. But I'm so happy I got a great guest on board. So funny, like a month ago, I was on his show. So this is how we do that reciprocity thing. We got my man, Dr. Brad Bellard in the house. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Let's make this thing happen, Vic.
We're definitely going to make this thing happen. I appreciate you jumping on. You had me on your show, Elite Performance with Dr. Brad. That was about a month ago. And I was really excited to be on there because I was able to share some of my journey, how I transitioned out of bad debt and check to check living into, building my real estate portfolio and get my credit together. And there was some things that you dropped in there even before I came on the screen, just how being an elite performer, some things that you have to do with your faith, with your performance, your consistency. So I just thought it would be great to bring you on. Our show is called Create Your Future Self. So these are all things and concepts that, especially our men, we need to be working on ourselves. And so I definitely wanted to bring you in. Dr. Brad is a real doctor, ladies and gentlemen. He ain't no fake doctor. Call me doctor this, doctor that. He is a real doctor, double boarded. Am I correct, sir?
That's right. That's right.
Tell us a little bit about your background, man.
Yeah, man. So first of all, thanks for having me on, man. You got great energy, Vic. It just made sense for me to have you on my show as I theme elite men, a man that I describe as really being successful, but also being fulfilled. And so again, I appreciate you being on my show, but the gratitude is definitely here, man, for being on yours. And I'm just looking to be able to serve here today. Yeah, man. I mean, to make a long story short, you talk about creating your future self. I didn't see me being where I'm at right now years ago. I wasn't, I wasn't trying to be a doctor. I was trying to hoop, to be honest with you, man. Like it was all about the hoop dreams.
Right.
It was NBA or bust. And the NBA didn't happen is the reality. So, my parents were like, you have to figure this thing out. Either you got to start working or you're going to college. I was like, well, I'm not ready to start working. So let's do this college thing. And I was so fearful of failing that that fear drove me to study, man. And fast forward a little bit from there, I, ended up doing pretty good academically. My brother was a nurse. I started working at the hospital, had men who poured into me, started borrowing the belief that they had in me because I didn't have the belief that I had in myself to become a physician. Borrowed that belief that turned into my brother and I both.
Why do you word it that way? I love that you said that, by the way, but why do you say you borrowed their belief?
I just didn't have it in myself, man. The reason why I never considered being a physician was because the possibility never existed. Mm-hmm. So for many of us, the reason why we may not be able to achieve or succeed at the level that we think we do is because we're not even considering it. I mean, if you never consider it, it can definitely never happen. So I never considered being a doctor. Like it was just not even a possibility for me. But it wasn't until I saw other people, there who poured into me and said, you know what, man, you can actually do this thing if you want to. And I was crazy enough to believe them. And so I didn't have that. I didn't have that belief, man. I borrowed it from them. That kind of sparked, me starting to believe like, man, like maybe I can do it. It's kind of been a common theme in my life. I was telling my wife this the other day. I've been the last person to believe in myself. There'll be other people who will believe in me before I will believe in myself. And it will take, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people to continue to remind me and be like, no, man, look at what you've done. Here's what's happened. Like, you can be at this table. You can make this happen. You can succeed and achieve this thing. And so, had it not been for some other fantastic people in my life who believed in me, I just wouldn't be here. So, ended up going to medical school, man. And I finally started practicing when I finished my training, and the first job that I had was working as one of the assistant team physicians for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, fast forward from that time that we were talking about, man, I used to have vivid hoop dreams, Vic. Like I'm talking about vivid, like I'm talking about on the court with the guys in the locker room. And I find myself in the locker room of an NBA basketball team, officially on the team as an NBA assistant physician. And I made it there, but just didn't get there in the way that I thought I would. So
we got to stop right there, because that is so powerful, man, because you as a kid envision yourself playing basketball professionally. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know if it was the Mavericks or not, but it was professionally that you had this goal. And due to the mentoring that you got, the borrowed belief that you got, you went to medical school and still ended up in the NBA with a professional team. And so I want to stop there, because that right there explains that whole belief system. You know, we have a vision for how we want it to go, but God, the spirit, the universe had a whole nother vision for you and still executed it for you so that you could realize that dream. It was just a little different than you saw it as a child. I really love that, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, man. And you know, I forgot who I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, Oliver. We were talking about this idea about the connection between beliefs and vision and really be able to see something come to fruition. So oftentimes we will count ourselves out of that goal that we're trying to accomplish. And we may actually start off believing it. Yeah. But what happens is, I'm a man of faith, so I believe the Holy Spirit will start to work on it, and it won't look the way that we anticipated or mapped it out. So sometimes it's like, well, man, you know, I'm trying to get out of debt, or I'm trying to create a certain amount of wealth. And there may be a step that looks as though you're being that you're, you know, you're taking a step back as opposed to taking a step forward. And instead of doubling down on the belief and allowing the Holy Spirit to work in the way that it's supposed to do to help get you there, we won't let it work. It's no different than somebody saying, hey, man, I want a cake. Like my goal is I want a cake. I want to be able to eat a cake. And when they start seeing it being made by putting the flour and the eggs, and they're like, hold up, man, this is not what I signed up for. Like, I didn't sign up for all this. Like, I want a cake. And they say, well, this is what needs to be done. It gets sloppy. It gets messy in order to make the cake that you want. It's like, well, I don't want the cake no more. And so that's exactly what we do, man. We say we want the cake, and then it starts getting messy. Stuff doesn't look anything like a cake. You got white flour, you got eggs, you got a little bit of a mess. You got oil, you got grease. And somebody's sitting here like, how is this supposed to be a cake? Yeah. And we count ourselves out, because at that point is when we lack the belief, when in the reality is that's when it's really time to double down on it. And so for me, you know, I'm saying here thing, I want the NBA, man. I want to be in the league. Right. You know, it didn't happen. And you know, it's interesting because the vision was so vivid, I believe, is what carried it to continue to be able to happen, because I forgot the dreams, right? Wow. But I remember it was just so vivid. And I remember when it happened, I was like, wow, this is crazy. But, you know, I had to take some steps back. In order the cake was being cooked, and I was like, man, it ended up, being the cake that I originally envisioned. But so oftentimes we'll just count ourselves out, man, because it's just not looking the way we thought it would.
Absolutely. No, you make great points there, because that's exactly what people go through. We're excited in the beginning. We're definitely excited as we get close to the end, but that middle phase, it looks nothing like what the results that we want. And so a lot of times that frustration kicks in. More importantly, that self-talk, I can't do it. It's not going to happen, all that stuff. And that's really when you need those borrowed beliefs or those affirmations or visions, whatever it is that drives you. And you really got to get into that emotional state of the end result. Like, once I get there, that's what I'm going to feel. And I got to keep pushing so I can get that feeling. And so I want to talk about something you mentioned in your book, Here's the book, ladies and gentlemen, those of you out there, please get a copy, especially men. We got to strengthen each other. Elite Performance for sure, Dr. Brad. And so there was something in here. I'm thinking back to around fall of 2016. I was secure in a new corporate job, making 150 grand a year. My kids are graduated out of high school doing their thing. We bought our house that we dreamed of. I mean, everything was going pretty much the way I had envisioned it maybe 10 years before that. I'm like, oh man, I made it here. But I'm in my mid 30s. I'm like, is this it? This is what I've been grinding for? This is what I want? And you put something in your book that just capsulizes exactly how I felt at that moment. And you saying here, I wasn't living up to my full potential. I was playing small. I knew I wasn't living the best version of me, and it was primarily because of mediocre effort. And as I thought about that, I'm like, well, I was at an elite level compared to some dudes, but I probably was measuring my life to the wrong dudes, you know what I mean, or whatever. Yeah. And so take me back to that feeling that you had of where, you know, again, in the book, you mentioned how things were going well, at least outwardly, but inside you didn't feel fulfilled. Can you talk to me about that?
No, man. I mean, that's really how we lead to me, you know, being on your show, man. I found myself several years ago as a successful physician, really chasing the status, chasing the success, you know, chasing the you know, all the things that I think most people would probably look at and be like, would justify my hustle because of the chase, right? And I found myself making more money than I'd ever made as an ER doctor and as a sports medicine doctor. I was an assistant team physician for the Dallas Mavericks at the time. Was on ESPN radio on a regular basis. But despite all of this outward success, I was secretly stuck. And there was this feeling like, man, you know, I'm doing all of this work, but I feel like it's coming at too great of a cost. Like I'm not showing up the way I need to as a husband, as a father, and I'm making excuses for not being here, being in those areas of life so that I can be in here. And I was winning, but I was winning in one area.
Right.
And in addition to that, I had this feeling like I felt like there was something else out there for me. Like there was more to life than the success that I was chasing and achieving. Like I had got to like, imagine this, Vic, like I get to the place where I'd always wanted to be and dreamed of. And I'm sitting here feeling like, how am I so unfulfilled despite the fact that I got to the place that I wanted to be? And I knew something was not right there.
Yep.
Right. Like I knew I was like, this can't be it. I mean, I was literally asking myself the question, like, is this it? Because I've been putting a bunch of time, money, and energy into this career, and I'm here. And it looks nothing like I thought, nor does it feel in any way fulfilled like I thought it would be. And so that's when I started saying, man, like, I got to figure something out. And yes, I was doing that other thing too, of I was winning, but when I looked in the mirror, Vic, I knew there was another level. I knew there was something else there. And I was comparing myself to the best of other people who may not have been achieving at the level that I was, and saying, well, I'm doing better than most. So that made me feel pretty good about myself. You know, when really and truly, I wasn't challenging myself. I wasn't slowing down long enough to ask myself, like, what am I really here for? What am I doing? I was not being the best doctor, husband, business owner, entrepreneur, because I had a home-based business at the time too. Man of faith that I knew I could be. I just, you know, from the outside world looked great. But when you have to look at yourself in the mirror, I knew I wasn't showing up in the way that I was capable of.
Yeah.
It's a hard look in the mirror, man, but I had to come to that conclusion because I'm sitting here thinking, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. I can't live like this. I can't be this unfulfilled. So, yeah, man, I remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember that's when I was like, I got to figure this thing out, man. Like I can't live this lesser version of me anymore. I got to make a decision to live life on the highest level that I possibly can and try to figure it out.
Man, you're speaking exactly what many of us go through, especially as men running a household. You feel like, okay, well, I got to generate this amount of money to make sure everything is, I'm the provider, I'm the protector. And so you get caught up in that title, but there are other ways to provide and protect as well. And I think that's what you're talking about here. That you were missing on certain cylinders. And I certainly have in my life as a dad, as a husband, there are areas that we miss the mark. And so I really love that you talk about that. There's a man right now looking, watching, listening to us. He's going through that same moment that we both have experienced. What do you say to that guy? How do we get him to start making that turnaround and start achieving that fulfilled life that he's looking for?
Yeah, man. There's several things. First thing I got to do is I got to ask you how much longer do you want to live like this? And the reality is, man, I'm gonna be real, Vic. Like, I just have to be real with that person, because here's what drove me to move. It was pain. We talked about this on the show, man. The biggest motivator is pain. So I'm gonna make you realize through this conversation I'm having with Vic, if you're listening right now, my question is, how much longer will you decide to live like this? How much longer, despite the successes that you've had and despite the wins and that, you know what, you might be doing better than you ever have in one area of life right now. How much longer will you plan to wake up knowing that it's not your best? Because see, at some point it's got to hurt bad enough to say, I got to do something that I'm not doing in order to change. For me, that meant I needed to be real with myself and admit that I wasn't where I wanted to be. Like I had to come to that conclusion. And look, that was hard for me to do, man, because think about it. Most people think I got it all figured out. Like, you're a doctor, you got a family, like you nowhere near where you came from. Like, you got it figured out. And nobody else had any reason to think that
Hold on, lost my audio for a hot second. There you go.
Can you hear me?
There you go. Yeah, gotcha. Sorry about that. Yep.
No, you're good. So nobody else had any reason to think that I was struggling, because I didn't let nobody know. Right. You know what I mean? So I had to, I finally was like, man, like, I was wondering, like, is this it? All this time and energy. So you got to ask yourself the question, how much longer? Yeah. Okay. Once you say, okay, look, yeah, man, I really need to fix some things. Like, I'm not living, at my best self. I'm really not performing at the best levels I can in multiple areas of life. Then the question is, who am I going to get to help me? So that was one of the first things I did, man. And I reluctantly did it, Vic. Like, that's the thing, is like, I reluctantly did it. But here's what I knew. I knew in order for me to get to where I was now, the success that I created, it was because of other people. So I needed to start to reach out to people that I knew, that I trusted, and I identified those areas of life that I needed help. I needed help in my faith. I reached out to a friend of mine who I just knew it's just a phenomenal guy who I was just like, look, man, I don't know the word. Like, I don't know how to live this. Like, I don't know how to do this. Yeah. Talked to another friend of mine who was a coach. He was like, I was like, I need clarity on like my purpose, like what I needed to do. And this, so I sought help to be able to get the answers that I needed and started moving. And sure, I could have researched some of the stuff on my own, but here's what I knew. I was going to move faster if I had somebody with me. Like, if I had that person who could coach me and walk me through it, that my results were going to be accelerated and happen faster. I could go read the books about how to do procedures. I go read the books about how to see patients. I can go do all that. But something happens when if I'm sitting right next to that attending physician and I'm learning with him, and then I got to do it myself. The closer you are to the influence of who you're trying to be, or the coaching that you're receiving, the faster your results are going to be. Yeah. So
no doubt about that. Yeah.
No doubt about that. Once I identified I needed help, I started reaching out to people who could help me, man. And then, it was accountability from there. And then, I started learning the system of how to be able to turn the things that I wanted into actually, results and putting the work in, and that, that there being an inevitability to living a life of both success and fulfillment. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for that same gentleman and any others out there, I want to give them an opportunity now to be part of your Elite Men Summit. I know it's 21 days, I believe, right, where you're daily providing and pouring into these guys that need that same type of support that you just mentioned. We've got the site here. I'm going to go ahead and share it on the screen as well. EliteMenSummit.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right, man. And so, we talked about kind of where I was at that time, because I was able to really turn my life around. And, you fast forward now, I started a coaching company where I coach high achieving men who are looking to succeed in their career without neglecting their personal life and fulfillment by applying faith-based peak performance habits to both their work and their personal life. And so I launched that company several years ago, and that's when I wrote the book, was blessed to become an Amazon bestseller with the book that you have in your hand. Mm-hmm. And so my whole purpose in life is to help that high achieving man who is currently now where I was. You having some wins. Life is probably lived at a high level in one area, right, and it's coming at too great a cost of who we need you to be as a man in multiple areas of life. See, I'm challenging men to be their absolute best self. It's not enough. It's not enough to be crushing it when you're in your income. It's not enough to just be crushing it in your business. It's not enough to be a good father, but not be doing good in your business or career. Like, it is up to us. There's a new standard of man. There's a new army of men being built called the elite man, and you are destroying, crushing it in life in multiple areas of life. That's my purpose, is to create that man. And so I got 21 guys who are elite men. I got these guys together, and I told them about the mission of what I'm looking to create in men. And these were guys who I look up to. These are CEOs, executive coaches, pastors, entrepreneurs, multimillionaires, and guys who live life at a high level, both in what they do for work, but also in how they live life outside of the walls of work. And so I interviewed each one of these guys, 21 men, about their concept of how men can succeed at work and be fulfilled in life. And so it's all for free. These guys agreed to do it for free. Wow. Because they literally want to see the needle move in the lives of men, man. We believe that if men can really get it right, the world changes in a phenomenal way. And so it's the Elite Men Summit, man. It's free. I told you about this before we hopped on, man. It's got to be at least about $1,000 worth of value on there. Guys are giving free gifts, part of their book, programs every day. And so it started on December 1st. It goes to December 21st. But even if you register now for free, you will get access to the days that you didn't get if you registered today and before. So you get access to all of it. On December 21st or on December 22nd, registration closes. So this is my gift to the men to start now, not in 2021. Most people want to cruise to the end of the year. I was talking to another friend of mine, one of the guys who's on there. His name's Tommy Breedlove. He and I had a call this morning. Talking about how people want to cruise into, and look, I get it. 2020 has been a challenging year. I get it, but it's not the time to cruise. It's the time to prepare so that come 2021, you're already ready to get started. Most people are going to just try and get started on 2021. No, you get started now so that you can accelerate come 2021. And this summit will help you prepare on how to be the absolute best man that you could possibly be, and it's free.
That's awesome. So we just dropped the link in there, EliteMenSummit.com. If there's any man tuned in right now, you should be trying to get into this summit. Again, they're offering this information. Even though you missed the first few days, you can go back and get the previous days. So that's really awesome right there. And you mentioned something like, again, so many people are in this New Year's resolution. I have a whole new saying about it. New day resolution. Like every day you should resolve to be better than the previous day, better than the man you were yesterday, woman you were yesterday. And I really love that you said it's a new breed out here, the elite performing man, right? And that's so important because it's a more total rounded man and I believe that also is a man who's also okay being vulnerable at times, sharing where he's failing, because if we don't, we're not going to overcome those mistakes and those hiccups. Would you agree with that? Man,
look, as men, particularly as high achieving men, particularly when you get in this professional world, we don't want to be wrong or make mistakes or be vulnerable to share that, you know what, I maybe have not had it right. That was my thing. That's why I held in this secretly stuck part for so long, because I was like, man, I'm supposed to have it figured out. Like, I'm supposed to have it figured out. Let me tell you something. You're not supposed to have it figured all out. And if you don't have it figured all out, that is okay. It is okay if you don't know it all. If you don't know everything, like, that is completely fine. You're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. So, this idea that we can't share our losses or our weakness or whatever the case may be couldn't be any further from the truth. Mm-hmm. You have to be aware and acknowledge what's happening, but it doesn't mean you have to accept it for your future. Again, this is called create your future self. You got to understand that, look, up until right now, the results of any area of your life are as a result of the belief and the behaviors that you had prior to today. Uh-huh. Period. Where you are now is as a result of the beliefs and the behaviors prior to today. But if you are trying to create a new future self, then starting now, yes, you acknowledge the past of where you are now. It's like you can't ignore it or deny it, but you acknowledge it and you say, well, my future self will now be defined by new beliefs and behaviors. So you can make that decision now so that there can be a new created future self.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Well, you're preaching what I love to hear about, man. One of the things I wanted to talk about real quickly here is chapter 5. You talk mm-hmm. about morning habits, power hour.
Yeah,
talk
man.
About your power hour.
This is an absolute game changer for me. Vic, I don't believe that we as men stop and slow down long enough from being busy to realize that we're really being irresponsible by saying we're being busy and not slowing down long enough to look at what we're doing. Mm-hmm. To me, that's a lack of responsibility. Saying I'm busy is a poor excuse for any reason why something's not getting done. I'm too busy. We just don't slow down long enough, man. We don't slow down long enough to be like, I'm busy. I read somewhere it said busyness is a sophisticated way of laziness, because we don't want to stop. It's like, I'm so busy running this direction. I literally don't want to stop long enough to lift up my head to realize I'm going in the wrong direction. Wow. So I'm going to say hashtag grind, hashtag busy, hashtag getting it, hashtag all this stuff. When at the end of the day, here's the deal. You're busy, but are you effective? Right. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Yeah. Right? Yeah. So we got to slow down, man. And this hour for me in the morning, every morning allows me to do a few things. It allows me to have silent time, to sit and think. I call this my Abraham Lincoln time. Abraham Lincoln had a quote that said, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Mm-hmm. Well, here's what most of us are doing, man. We got a tree in front of us and we grab a bat.
Yeah. Sorry, hacking at it. Yeah.
We hacking at this and we like, I'm getting it, man. I'm grinding like I'm getting it. And for the thinkers, the ones who slow down long enough, the ones who do this power hour kind of stuff, we're looking at the dude hacking at the tree with a bat. And it's like, no, man, take time to sharpen that axe. So it allows me time to think, what do I need to do today? What's the most effective next step that I can take right now that if I push this domino, the next thing that I have to do will either be easier or I won't have to do. Mm-hmm. Right. So like, it allows me to think. It obviously grounds me and allows me to spend time with God. I truly believe that I am not my best if I'm not really tapping into who I've been called to be as a man of God and my identity. So I'm remind myself of that during that time. Spend time in the Word, and I plan my day, man. I plan my day. This is not just this is every single day, an hour every single day. Think about it. You got 24 hours in your day.
Mm-hmm.
If you sleep for 8 hours, most of us don't, but say you sleep for 8 hours, you got 16 hours where you're going to be bombarded with basically the world trying to tell you you can't, or that it's difficult, or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. But the reality is this: if you could at least have an hour of trying to convince yourself otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. That can carry you for much of the day. I talk about self-care, man. This is a way for me to fill the tank. We were called to serve. We were called to serve at a high level. Mm-hmm. I cannot pour from an empty cup. This is my way of charging my. Let me ask you something, Vic. If you don't charge your phone, is it going to work? No. It's not going to work. I charge that sucker every night. Most of us spend more time charging our phone than we do charging our own lives back to be able to pour into the lives of other people. We care about this phone. Let's not even talk about how much attention we give to it more than we give the things that we really need to give attention to. Right. Right. So this allows me to recharge my battery, man. It allows me to put gas in the tank, because guess what? I got 3 kids waiting for me to pour into them. They don't care about how Dad's day did, how many business deals I did, how many clients I helped. They like, yo, Dad, like we getting up on these video games. Are we eating dinner? Like, right? Same thing with my wife. And then all the people that's counting on me to make sure that I'm doing what I got to do, so that these men, so that we can get this new army of men out here. Mm-hmm. If I don't have that hour, I cannot be my best. It is the only thing I try to be selfish with in my life is, let me get this hour, man, because if I'm not selfish with that time, I cannot be selfless once I leave this office with that hour.
Mm-hmm. Awesome stuff.
Hey, Laquita, how you doing?
What? Let me get your audio. Is that me or you on your end?
How you doing? Sorry about that. I had my mic muted. How you doing, Dr. Brady?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's been a good conversation, Laquita. I want to continue on that morning routine topic real quick. And then, Laquita, I know you probably have you got all the men around you, your son, your husband. So this is definitely a powerful conversation for you. So in your power hour, does it start at the same time every day, Dr. Brad? Is it when you get up, that's when the hour kicks off? Explain that to us.
Yeah, so it's actually grown recently into about an hour and 15 minutes. Sometimes even an hour and a half. And I know people are probably thinking like, dude, an hour and a half, I ain't got that kind of time. Mm-hmm. Well, again, I want you to think about what we talked about, that Abraham Lincoln time. Like, that's cool. I just know that if I have more time to think and get clear, man, that axe is going to be so sharp when I go to going after whatever goal I'm going to do. And I started realizing that ain't nothing wrong with taking action. And we hear that oftentimes, like, you have to take action now. And I'm all about action. But see, I don't know about you, but I've also taken wrong action so many times in my life, right? Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to say hashtag action, hashtag you got to go, hashtag do this. And, imperfect action is better than action. And I agree, but, we can't have this broad paint stroke over everything saying everybody got to take action. Sometimes the best action you need to take is think real quick. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's not so much that it's the same time every day, because my days might be different depending if I have a procedure in the morning or if I got a coaching client in the morning. So I just make sure that I allot about an hour and 15 minutes into my morning before anything, and I make sure I have enough time for that. So I mean, like, I had a procedure at 7:00 in the morning on Friday. Well, it takes me about 30 minutes to get to the surgery center. So I just needed to make sure and have enough time that I had an hour and a half. So you can imagine what time I'm getting up in the morning to get that done, right? Sometimes clinic starts at 9. I got to work out in the morning. So again, you can imagine what time I'm getting up. But I'm usually getting up somewhere between somewhere around 5 o'clock, maybe a little bit before then if that's the case. But I'm also make sure I'm going to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock. Depending on me and my wife, then watch Voices of Fire on Netflix now. I don't know if y'all done check that joint out, but it's good, right? So it just kind of depends on if that or Mandalorian is, we got to catch up on it a bit. But yeah, I'm not this person who's so rigid that even when I'm coaching my clients that I'm telling them, it's got to be 4 o'clock, it's got to be 5. All I'm saying is, look here. It has to get done, and it needs to get done the first thing you do in the morning. And if your morning is nights, right? Because some guys, they work nights, and they may have to wake up in the day. It just still needs to be that first thing. It needs to be away from everybody. It's got to be in silence, and you got to have some time and some silent time to think.
Absolutely, powerful stuff. You talk about that all the time. That mindset, getting that mind right.
It is, because it's how we start our day. And it's something that I learned a long time ago from my pastor. How we start our day sets the tone for the rest of our day. And that's got to be something that you're dedicated to and that you prioritize what you do with the first part of your day. And when you put that energy, I love something. I wasn't able to join you guys in the beginning, but I was watching on Facebook. And it was something that Dr. Brett said earlier in the conversation, that he was a man of faith. So in that first parts of our day, I'm going to give my time to the Lord. And then after I do that, then that time is for me. Whatever I might do with that time, whether it's reading, praying, I like to drink tea, meditate, read, all of that. I'm going to do that before I start my day. And that's a habit that my husband has as well. He tells the kids all of the time, I'm a creature of habit. And when I step outside of that habit, it impacts my day. So his routine first thing in the morning is very similar to my routine. Does it mean that we're doing it together? Actually, we're not. He's doing it and I'm doing it. And when we do come together in the morning, it's usually for a cup of coffee, a conversation that has absolutely nothing to do with work or anything like that. It's a conversation generally about what we're going to do in our downtime. Okay. Work is clicking off. We're talking about what we're doing as a couple later.
Yeah.
But that individual time is going to work through what I need to do as wife, mom, entrepreneur is going to take care of that. So that when it comes time for me to give that rest of myself to my family, I'm free to do it.
And here's what most guys don't understand is I used to be running so hard, and I've always been a pretty motivated person, but I used to look at, okay, I'm driving so hard in my business and in my clinic and all this stuff, and time with my children or time with my wife, I started looking at, man, this is taken away from what I'm trying to do. Here's what people don't understand is when you schedule it right and when you do it right and you prioritize fulfillment, faith, family, and those things that truly fulfill you, you will perform better in that thing that you're trying to make happen, that goal that you're going after. You'll do way better than if you don't. It's an investment of time. And when you think about any investments, y'all know about this, Vic, you know about this, we're talking about investment. Anytime you invest in something, you want a return of investment, right? And so I used to think I was losing, like, man, this costing me. Once I started realizing this is a investment of time, I actually get something back, because when I spend time and I'm actually present with my wife or I'm actually present with my kids, guess what? They're like, Dad, we good. You cool. Like, go ahead and spend that time. That's the return of investment I have. And now I don't have to worry and stress that I'm not, spending time. I'm not doing what I need to just get that investment time and I get a return. I perform better because of that. Most people think if I take away, how am I supposed to keep killing it in business and I got to go spend time with that? Well, number one, you don't understand the idea of doing less work to get more done.
Yeah.
You give me 24 hours in a day to get work done. Guess what? I'm going to take all 24 hours.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
But if you give me a finite period of time to work and do that work during that time, you'll be surprised at how much you can actually get done.
It's funny you say that, man, because as an entrepreneur, I know a lot of people that, especially when they transition out of their work life, where it's a regimented hours and, supervision and all that kind of stuff. And then you go into run your own business, especially if you're in a service-based business where you might work from home or something. you still have to have those regimens, right? Because, so for example, last year I spent a big chunk of my time chasing my tail, putting my business together. When I realized, I was like, well, wait a minute. I actually performed better in my workspace, in my office space, when I set my timer and I know I had a deadline to get a report to my manager or my boss or whatever, to the director. Like, so I do those same things now. I got to get this thing done in the next hour. I'll set a 45-minute time block. Nothing else is happening except for that project in that 45 minutes. And it's the pressure. It's a good pressure because it's like, okay, I'm focused. I'm going to get this done. Boom, now it's done. It's out the way and I'm moving on to the next thing. And so that's a great statement that you make, because you can get more done when you're not trying to multitask and think and carry and do all of this stuff. And you put it in a better way when you focus on your family and those things, give them the time that they need so you can be 100% locked in on that work aspect or something else. So that's a great concept.
Absolutely. I really love what he said, when you're doing less, we actually become more productive. Vic, you were spot on. When I set those time periods, I'm going to do this for this amount, this amount, this amount. And I stick in those time frames and I don't let my mind, because Dr. Brad, is not a male thing. I know for sure it's a female thing. For sure. Oh yeah. It's a female thing. We sometimes don't necessarily have our priorities in order because we're trying to reach that goal. We're really busy trying to break through that proverbial glass ceiling, all of that stuff. And so the things that matter begin to come, be thrown to the wayside. And when you look up, you might have achieved your quote goal, but your family is in a tip. So,
and you when you look at it, it's you get more done by taking more off of your plate, not by putting more on it.
Absolutely.
Like that's the thing. It's like it's getting good at removing the things that don't need to be there and focusing absolutely on the things that have to be there. I think about a magnifying glass, man. Like, the sun doesn't cook us. Well, if you're in Texas, depending on the time of the year, the sun be cooking us, right? You're in Texas, but typically the sun doesn't cook us. But if you focus all of the rays in a magnifying glass, it can burn. It can start a fire. And so, but it's the focus. Most of us need to eliminate the things that we need to say no to or need to get off of our plate and focus on the thing that's actually moving and making things happen in our life. Focus on that, and you actually get more done by putting in less work. But again, if we don't stop to think, like, how can I be more efficient? How can I be more effective? Because it's not even efficiency. You can be real efficient at knocking door to door as a salesman. Or you could be effective and make some calls.
About that.
So it's not about being efficient, it's about being effective, but you got to stop long enough to ask, what's the best thing for me to do in order to work less, still get a bunch done, still get this and that. Most folks don't think they can get it all done. That's the thing.
Right.
They're like, this has to come at the cost of this. I used to think the same thing. I'd be like, babe, I got to work. And here's what I used to say. I'm trying to put food on the table. We're living out here in Prosper, man. Like, come on, what are we talking about? It ain't like these kids gonna starve. And that's what most of us try to do. We try to justify this hard work. Like, I'm trying to keep food on the table. It's like, look, now, last I checked, we getting food on the table. You know what I mean?
Right. That's right. One of the things I recently started saying is multitasking is messy tasking. Like, you're just messying up your life with that. Yeah. So not multitasking, complete something, move on to the next one. So I want to take a quick second to just remind people you have the EliteMenSummit.com right now going on 21 days. You're in probably day 6 or 7, I believe, right? EliteMenSummit.com. Gentlemen, if you are in the earshot of this broadcast, you should be logging on, get registered. They will also provide to you the back plays from the previous days that you may have missed. Also, somebody asked about the book on the website, drbradmd.com. You could also follow him on social media at drbradmd, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Follow this guy. He is a very, very brilliant gentleman. And I love it because whether you're speaking through your national speaking platform or through the Amazon bestseller or the online live show that I was on, Elite Performance with Dr. Brad, there's 3 principles that you call out. 1, prioritize your faith. 2, optimize your performance. And 3, clarify your purpose. Now, they got to get the book if they want to dig deeper into each one of those. I do want to ask you about number 3, clarifying your purpose. Many of the people that I deal with, a client base, whether they need their credit fixed or they want to start investing in real estate, that's the part they struggle with. Like, I don't really know what my purpose is. I've been doing this. Like you said, I've been making good money doing this, building somebody else's dream, but that's not my purpose. So what would you say to that person that still isn't quite clear on how to clarify their purpose?
There's a couple of things. There's some people who they got a pretty good idea of what they're good at and what they want to do, but there's so many self-limiting beliefs and fear that they won't take the step. So I'll give you a very crystal clear picture today. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and this dude is a phenomenal coach. And when I say coach, like he used to play in the NFL, successful in business and a couple things that he's doing now. But he's kind of in this space where he's like, I'm not fulfilled. I feel like there's something else out there for me. I know the man's gifts. I mean, he used to play in the league. He pours into kids and can get people to train at such a high level. Wow. So we just started talking about it. And I said, hey, man, why not? And the first thing is, well, my wife is doing this or this, that, and the other. I can't make no money in that. I would have to teach I'd have to be a coach at high school. Like, I still got to make life run. And I was like, well, instead of saying I can't, the question is, how can I make the money? How can I do this outside of the high school? And after we were done talking, he was like, it sounds like I need to start my own business. And I was like, after we asked, a series of questions, he was like, because he was telling me all the stuff he don't want. I'm like, well, that's great. Sounds like you got more clarity than you think you do, because you know what you don't want to have. I don't want to work with these kids. I want to work with these parents. I want to do this. I was like, okay, cool. You realize you could choose who you want to work with, though, right? You can choose your price, because I know the transformation you've had in people that you've helped train. And if you do that for anybody and somebody open their mouth and tell somebody else, with the way the sports is around here in Texas, somebody gonna be like, I'll pay good money for you to do this. And so there are some people, man, they just don't, they have an idea, but I think some of them lack certainly some belief. It don't hurt bad enough. And so I said before, it's like, it don't hurt bad enough to start moving in that direction. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It just don't hurt bad enough to be like, I'm going to start making something else happen. But they do need a little bit of clarity and kind of like I was asking him today, how can we make something that happen? And then there are people who, I think they really want to do something, but they don't know. And, for those people, they may need a little more. Like the first guy I was just describing, he may need some encouragement and just some other things in place to try to get him on the road. And some people, they have no idea. Yeah. But here's what I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that everybody here was created for a purpose. Period. And you have gifts and talents that were blessed upon you in order to be able to not just do that purpose, but to do it in an extraordinary way. To be the Tiger Woods of whatever it is that you listen. What I'm telling you, that's what the gifts and talents are for. And there's things that have happened in your past that you have such a strong conviction about that have helped transform you, that you will want to see that same transformation in someone else. So much so that it is a burden. Most people talk about this passion. Oh man, like, I'm passionate about this, passionate about that. No. Oftentimes when people talk about passion, it's something that they really like. A passion is actually something that burdens you. It burdens you to see somebody go through that same thing. It burdens me to see somebody like my friend today. I know he has something else out there for him to do and not jump on it and continue to live this life of, I guess I'm just going to keep doing this because everybody else around me is still, kind of, just walking in a straight line and doing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And on the hamster wheel, no matter how successful you've been, that burdens me. So like, there's something that burdens you. You think about the movie or the passion of Jesus Christ, dude. It's the passion. It ain't some fantastic. It's the passive burden. Yeah. You got to find that burden that you would say, you know what? I would hate for somebody to go through whatever it is that I've been transformed. I need to create that same exact transformation as somebody else. And guess what? You've been gifted with the talents and the gifts to be able to do that. Well, guess what? My friend made it to the league. He had coaches. He had people that transformed his life. He had his old man. And so like his physiology changes when he's talking about this stuff. That's all I can tell. Yeah. He don't talk like that whenever he's talking about his business. Like, so sometimes people just need someone from an outside view to look in, and I have a system to be able to help people get clarity on that, and then also to help build it. But so many of us men, we will accept money, but we won't accept our mission. So we will go after the money because for some reason we feel like that validates us as a human being, when really we've been called to serve others with our gifts and talents such that it will transform their life in a way similar that it did us. That's why it happened. That's why whatever happened to us that transformed our lives happened, is so that we can have that happen for someone else. But we truly start to move into that area of, being elite when we can be on mission. And whenever we as men are not on mission, whenever we don't have clear direction, we get distracted. We get distracted by a lot of stuff that's just not keeping us on point. Mm-hmm. And so because all of this stuff, we're trying to validate us, when at the end of the day, we've been called to be kings. We've been called to truly knew who we were. We wouldn't have to get validation from having to go succeed and gain all this stuff. And by the way, I'm talking to myself because that used to be me. Hey, man, I got to go get this money. So I'm a man. I got to go provide and put more on the table because that makes me feel better as a man. At the end of the day, I only need validation from one thing, and it's God. And once I came to that conclusion, here's the deal: I got to keep reminding myself of that, right? Once we can understand that, then we got to be like, what is my mission here? Most of us feel like if we truly dive in on that mission, that purpose, that calling from God, we're gonna miss something. We're gonna lose out on this money, like all this stuff. It's like I got to keep hanging on to this thing that's killing me for some reason.
That's right.
And you know what I mean? Let it go and understand that all the dreams and the stuff that you wanted to happen is on the other side of that mission, man. That's what you were created to do.
Absolutely. That's spot on, sir. That's spot on. If I might say, you might need to preach that one day. You might want to preach that one day, because it's definitely what is written in the word. The Lord is the only one who allowed us to be born, gave us purpose, and in that purpose, we are driven. We're propelled forward to fulfill that purpose in our life. And until we do that, we're empty as individuals. I mean, I love that you're speaking that towards men, because I have a house full of young men, as Vic said. We have 4 boys and 1 daughter. Wow. And, they have to have and understand the purpose that God has set for their life. If you don't, you'll be grabbing at straws the rest of your life. You might make a lot of money, but you won't be happy. And you won't be fulfilled. You won't have that inner joy. And that's just as a human being. When we understand that, what our purpose is. And the biggest thing is, a lot of times I feel like people, they don't necessarily not understand it. They don't want to accept it.
Oh yeah. No, not at all.
It hasn't come in the package that they have decided, this is what I want. This is success, right? One of the things that I teach is who or what defines success for you. What has put that vision of success in your mind. Yep. When you discover that piece, and then you really, really begin to take to heart what the Lord is impressing upon you is your true purpose. Things will be a whole lot different. You'll get in that difference between vocation and occupation. My vocation is what's going to propel me. It's what's going to drive me. My occupation is simply what put coins in my pocket and food on the table. That's it.
Different things. And let me just give a spoiler alert to everybody watching, man, female. Here's the deal. most of us are trying to achieve this success or these tangible things or these titles or whatever the case may be, the status, because we feel like it will fulfill us. We think that it will fulfill us. Let me just fast forward for you. Spoiler alert. It won't. Okay. I have made a lot of money and have been on the wrong side of serving, purpose, and fulfillment. And let me just tell you what will make you fulfilled. What makes you fulfilled is serving. What makes you fulfilled is serving. Period. That is the thing that makes you fulfilled. And so you have to find a way that you are supposed to serve at the highest level with the gifts and talents and everything that you have. Here's what's happening with a lot of men. We're successful and we're thinking like, oh, well, I'm winning with what I'm doing. Not realizing you have no idea that if you actually went on your purpose with the gifts and talents that you have, it would exceed what you think is winning with your 6-figure or multiple 6-figure or maybe even 7-figure job or business. Mm-hmm. Here's what's funny. We talk about being creative for a purpose. If you get a drill is supposed to drill screws in a wall in wood. Mm-hmm. And they done become so successful at taking that drill and using it as a hammer. Yeah. And they working so hard, man. But look how much I'm winning. Look how many nails I'm putting in the wall. Like, it's like, but bro, if you actually you do what you were designed to do with this drill, you wouldn't have to work nearly as hard. You'd be much more successful. Yeah. The hammer is supposed to do that.
Right.
Not the drill. Let the hammer do the hammer work. You over here because you like, I gotta do it this way. No. Accept what you were designed to do it, and you'll be but because we win in a little bit, we feel like I can't let go of it. Like I can't let go of it. Yet still we like, I want more. I want to be successful. But you got to let go of that thing that
let go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And not quit your job, right? Not quit your job. I ain't saying quit your job. Like there's a way to do it, but like you got to start figuring out and start practicing the way that you serve and that you were called to be. And eventually it'll just happen.
Got to clarify that purpose. So this has been awesome, man. I appreciate you pouring into our audience. This is insane, man. You dropping straight nuggets. And so I just want to remind people again, the EliteMenSummit.com. If you want more information on Dr. Brad, drbradmd.com. So that's drbradmd.com. All over social media with that. So in closing, got to always ask our guests this. So what does your future self look like, Dr. Brad?
Oh, man. Man.
5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
What does your future self look like?
Yeah, man. I can be real. I mean, we've already talked about, faith and stuff like that. I got to say this up front just so it doesn't come off the wrong way, because my vision is not about me, but I also realize I have to be a vessel for this. And there are a lot of people that teach performance or that teach personal development. And so a lot of people and let me put it this way, those people are extremely well known. I mean, they pack stadiums, right? And a lot of people will follow those teachings and principles because it's better than maybe what it was before, and they start believing in themselves and all this stuff. And I think that's great. Mm-hmm. My goal is to get to a place to where the platform that I'm looking to build is bigger, again, not for me, but so that people can come to the conclusion that it's more than about you.
Yeah.
It's bigger than you believing in yourself. Because see, if I believe in myself, I am limited.
Yeah.
But here's what I know is that if I believe in the Holy Spirit in me, I'm limitless.
Come on, sir.
And so there's a difference between personal development and somebody truly putting the understanding of who they are, what can happen in the hands of someone greater than themselves. And see, no one wants to surrender. This is the reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get that because it took me, I'm a hard-headed brother. Let me tell you, like, it took me a while to get to this understanding, but like, it's to pack stadiums of people who understand the true understanding of how to optimize their potential, and in a way that won't be hung on what they do, how much money they do, all this other stuff, but purely for the service of other people. And that we have somebody in the faith-based world that rivals all the people who teach a very similar deal that is not faith-based.
Come on now.
We just don't have somebody doing that, man.
Come
we
on.
don't have somebody who is challenging I'm not going to say the names of the world.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, but you know, with what we know and the beliefs that we have, we should be able to literally run the world, and we don't.
See, Dr. Brad, you and I can have a whole nother on another interview about the answers to that question, because I believe you know what the answer is.
Yes.
Like, but you're on point, sir. You're on point. When Vic and I met through a mutual coach we had at the time, Marcus Ogden, and from the moment I met Marcus was like, Laquita, you need to be in the coaching and speaking space. And I'm a minister, and my platform is overseas, Africa and Germany and UK. Wow. And so I always did not want to be associated with the men and women who abuse that platform.
Yeah.
That abuse it. And so Marcus was actually my coach for real estate. And for about 2 years, he was just saying that. And so finally during while we were on lockdown in like April, I was just really, meditating on that and praying about it. And it came to me that fear is one of the reasons that people don't want to walk in that space in a big way.
Yep.
Because why should I be concerned about what people believe about me as a Christian? But like what you said, we have the keys to success. It is written through the Holy Spirit. We have everything we need for life and godliness, right? We have everything we need in this earth to be successful. And we're supposed to be teaching other people how to take the word, implement it in your life, and allow the word to create success for you.
Period.
But you don't want to step out there because of whatever your fear is. You don't want to step out there and do it. You're comfortable in the church arena, but you don't want to step outside of that church arena and bring it to the world stage. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that the Lord shared with me is that if I am bold enough to go out and be a witness inside of the walls, I can go out and be a witness outside of the walls in the space that God has given me to occupy.
Period.
People need it. Where they really need it, right?
Period. Because here's the deal. If people really find out what we know, they'll look at what they've been taught and being like, well, why am I doing that? But again, I get it because it may be better than where they were before. So like, oh man, like they didn't have much confidence. And so they find somebody who has confidence in them, stuff like that, but it's not rooted in a foundation of anything sustainable. I and myself believe in myself is not sustainable. It's just not going to be. It needs to be rooted on a firm foundation. And it's a lot of the same words and it's a lot of the same thing, but it is not rooted in a foundation. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have somebody who rivals. I mean, literally like rivals to bring people, and it be all love. Like, hey man, like all love, matter of fact, y'all invited too. The big names, y'all invited, everybody invited. Like we ain't shutting off the doors to nobody. We want everybody to know this stuff,
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elite, my man, Dr. Brad Bellard in the house. Make sure you follow him, drbradmd.com, or all over social at Dr. Brad MD. We appreciate you sharing, giving our men something to be inspired by, some actionable items to put into their power hour in the morning, something that they can jump into for that Elite Men Summit as well. And so thank you so much for your pouring into us. Thank you for being a professional. This man sent me this book after I joined his show last month. So I appreciate it. I'm about halfway through it, man. I'll be done tomorrow. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much. And we're here every Monday. Create Your Future Self Live, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm Victor Vinico Johnson of Nico Dime Projects. We got Laquita Monley Innovations, M5 Real Estate Solutions. Check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook. We appreciate you guys tuning in and have a great, great week. Stay safe out there, folks.
Right. Take